Welcome back. You're watching Newsx. My name is Vineet Malhotra. After the deadly air crash, DGCA has ordered the enhanced safety inspection on Boeing 787-89 fleet of Air India. Air India has been ordered to carry out additional maintenance actions on aircrafts equipped with Gen X engines. In its order, the airline regulator has also asked for a one-time check before departure of flight from India of fuel parameter and monitoring and associated system checks. They have ordered inspection of cabin air compressors and associated systems as well, electronic engine control, system test and serviceability check of hydraulic systems as well. We'll continue to talk about this, but right now at this point in time, Mr. Jitendra Bhargava, former Executive Director of Air India, is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Bhargav, appreciate, sir, you taking out the time and speaking with us. I hope you can hear me. Sir, so if you can say something for me, sir.
No, the reality is the government.
Right. Absolutely, sir. So thank you so much. I can hear you loud and clear, sir. So you've also written a book called The Descent of Air India. Do you think this air crash that has happened in Ahmedabad yesterday is the zenith of the descent of Air India? I'm making these two as an oxymoron.
No, when an accident takes place, there could be multiple reasons. Let's not jump to conclusion and say it happened because there were some lapses on the part of the airline. I've maintained this constantly right from the time the accident took place. Let's await the outcome of a formal inquiry. In the aviation industry, we have systems which are laid out, followed by all airlines globally, and they do arrive at a conclusion after examining. The good part is that today they have found the black box, and black box is a device which records everything that's happened on board. Altitude, load, speed, conversation between the pilots in the cockpit, and everything is there. So that would give a clue to the investigators once they begin decoding the black box. So let's have patience. The Boeing team will be here. Air India people are here, the regulatory people are here. So it's a multi kind of a party because they're stakeholders. Everyone is a stakeholder in it. So they're going to be investigating and coming with a conclusion as to what went wrong. Because when you look at on the face of it, good weather, good visibility, aircraft Dreamliner has a good track record. The commander had 8,200 hours of flying experience. Then what has gone wrong? And that's the million-dollar question that this investigators, when they get onto the task, starting today, will have to come forth and say, this is what went wrong and caused an accident. Hopefully, in a week's time, maybe 10 days' time, but they'll do it. But in the meantime, what is commendable is that DGCA has issued some directions to Air India that when you have a flight operated by the Dreamliner aircraft, conduct these additional checks. Now that would probably boost passenger confidence in the aircraft and said, look, I can fly because there is a requisite kind of guidance issued. They are taking requisite safeguards to ensure that the flight is safe.
So, I'm compelled to ask you this because even before this crash happened, Air India was fighting off an image problem because of lack of a number of facilities that passengers usually sign up for. Do you think, as a precedence, as a background of what India brings to the table, this air crash is being attributed to the standards also that Air India has gotten its patrons accustomed to?
There are two ways of looking at it. One, those elements of flight operations, like the in-flight entertainment system not working, seat not reclining, seat not adequately cushioned, service standard, route behavior, whatever you may call it. But these factors, while harming the airline's image, do not contribute to the safety or accident. It is the airworthiness of the aircraft that is responsible for the safe operation of flights. So we got to take away these elements and said, because these are kind of news items that keep appearing regularly whenever a VIP passenger or somebody is making a formal complaint. But does that make the airline flight operations unsafe? The answer is no. So when you have DGCA issuing a notice to DGCA, to Air India, and say, look, this is what has gone wrong, this is what has been brought to our attention, and you need to take remedial action. And we have all seen it, that DGCA imposes financial penalties at times on the airline. But is that adequate? Is DGCA fulfilling its obligations? Has the DGCA been ensuring that the flaws pointed out have been overcome? So, when we look at the whole thing, perhaps this accident may be a learning kind of experience for every stakeholder, the airlines, the regulatory agency, the aircraft manufacturer, and everyone to look at as to why have things gone wrong. There is a reason. But what is the reason can only be determined when the black box information is decoded and the data analyzed. Let's hope it's done faster. It's done in the next few weeks, and we know about it.
So you've worked with Air India. What does this mean for brand Air India? The first maiden flight was taken by Mr. J.R.D. Tata in 1932, almost a century ago. There's another airline which has a checkered past, could not in fact make out of the systemic impediment it ran into after a couple of crashes. I'm talking about Malaysian Airlines, the MH370 and that shooting down on Ukrainian airspace. They had to rebrand, and still they continue to run from pillar to post, trying to meet their targets and construct their bottom lines. Do you think a similar fate will await Air India as well? What's the future for this brand? Perception
is formed, particularly because this accident happened in daytime. There is live visuals of the accident being played out on television repeatedly. It will happen. That's a temporary setback. But what happens, and what we have seen with mega carriers, because almost all carriers in the world have sometime or the other been involved with an accident. Nobody has a track record which says we have never had an accident. It's in the case. So what you need to look at is to look at the data, safety data over a period of time, rather than judge an airline by one of accident. The airline industry has parameters. Accidents per million passengers flown, accidents per million takeoff and landing between flights. So, when you look at this data and then you look at and said, is this data of Air India comparable with the best airlines in the world? If it does, then Air India passes muster and said, look, it has a track record which can match the best in the world. But if it doesn't, then of course something is wrong. But the truth is that Air India's safety record is as good as any other airline in the world. This accident notwithstanding, there will be a temporary setback, but let's hope it does not last very long and Air India is able to redeem the kind of loss in the reputation that it has suffered as a consequence of this accident.
Mr. Bhargav, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much, sir, for your candid responses. Appreciate it. All right, Wing Commander Praful Bakshi, former Indian Air Force officer and the former spokesperson of the Ministry of Defence, also with us, a known name in India when it comes to air security and protocols. Commander Bakshi, appreciate you taking out the time, sir. I'm sure you're despondent, you're disheartened as to what happened. But what's going on in your mind, sir? I want to understand, what do you think attributed to this fatal crash? What were the reasons? Let's not get into what Air India is, what the background is, what the story there is. Speaking purely, pedantically about, technicalities, I'm sure you have flown yourself. What went in your mind when you saw that aircraft tumbling down without control?
Thank you, Vineet. Indeed, you are talking about a very serious accident. I'm very sorry to talk about it also. But let me tell you one thing, what went through my mind is why, because I am officially a aircraft accident investigator also, though I've not given my CV. It is there, I've done 28 inquiries myself. let me tell you one thing. The way my heart always...
So are those for the Air Force or are those commercial investigations that you have done? Just for my knowledge.
I've done both. I was involved in commercial investigation also. In fact, I went to tabletop accident and they submitted my report.
Fair enough, sir. Fair enough. Just setting the record straight, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Now, what I'll try to tell you is that there are a lot of things which don't come clearly to us. First thing is, just letter has been issued just now, which has been circulated, that these checks have to be carried out. Please point out any single check which is not carried out. All these are carried out. I'm not worried about that. The question is fuel. When you talk of fuel, what sort of inspection of fuel? First thing is, when we are going into all these steps one by one, when the FDR, the flight data recorder and the CVC is opened, you will see lot of parameters will also come out on that, which will be related to that. So let's wait for that. Until and unless that comes out, and let me tell you, when we can talk about FDR, but we can never have seen an FDR report openly in total transparency. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Though I may sound very harsh, but this is the fact. I'm not blaming Air India. Air India, well, let me tell you, it has very good record. So let's finish about that. I'm not even lifting a finger on Air India. The question is, our procedures in DGCA, we have always tried to take shortcuts. Why? I have been talking about, when I was in service, that there should be a surprise inspection team formed by the DGCA of all professional aviators in one solid team and go and inspect every airline which is operating from India and private ones and submit a report independent. Their training, their maintenance, their operations, everything, and the procedures which are on the ATCs, they should be inspected and report should be given. I am sorry, Vineet, that is not done. So there is a lot of things which have been not done, which are left over. Now let's come to this accident. Aircraft takes off just barely 500-600 feet. It means he is on the takeoff path. And then after Mayday call comes and he starts descending because he's losing thrust on both engines. It never happens that you suddenly lose thrust on both engines until you had a bird strike or flock of birds. They've got into your bird, like it happened in America. The pilot landed on the river. That sort of a thing happens, very rarest of the rare. Well, that we have to find out. But when the bird strikes, there's a lot of smoke, etc. also comes out from my personal experience. Even I was struck with bird, so I know it. But here, let's also forget about it. The question is, when the aircraft has landed, aircraft pilot has nothing else to do but to land straight ahead. He has to convert his height into speed to actually maneuver the aircraft, because aircraft has no thrust. It is losing thrust. Now it is losing height, so a pilot keeps building the speed, so the maneuverability is maintained, so he can land somewhere. Now he has got 300 to 400 feet left. He has to put the aircraft straight in line of his takeoff. Whether he hits a hill, whether he hits a tree, he cannot control it. So that's what happened. Now question is, why did the engine fail? FDR report will tell us, but FDR report will not tell you the quality of the fuel. We have to check up the quality of the fuel. There is a very serious charge in various places where this has happened of contamination of fuel. We have to check up, and when the fuel is contaminated, this is not a natural phenomena. It has to be deliberately done. And in the inquiry, the last column is always there. Sabotage cannot be ruled out. This has to be checked up. And then the complete report of the aircraft, what emergencies it had in the last 6 months, change of spare parts, when were they changed, has any part been given extension? A lot of airlines take shortcut. They don't change the part now. Their owners say, no, we want to save money. It's got 20 ghante extension, 5 hours extension, or 10 landings extension, or 2, whatever the case may be. There are a lot of things. Shortcuts are taken. These reports must come out. They never come out. And let me tell you, you will have you may like it or not, people may like it or not. When the Patna air crash took place, I was on the television exactly like this, 97, and I said the fleet has to be inspected. Vineet, within 15 minutes of my statement, there were two very senior retired officials were sent to the television to take me off the screen because I spoke the truth. Because you had to inspect the air, it was Boeing also that time, it was Alliance Air, they were grounded. Question is, Vineet, we have to face the fact and learn to speak the truth. Let's not mollycoddle and do pussyfooting everywhere and hope like hell that things get over. No, it's not going to get over. Read out the list just now, which is in front of you. Read out one by one. Which inspection, what is not inspected? Everything is inspected. What extra? I would have appreciated had Air India.
Commander Bakshi, there is also this bit of information that this aircraft flew very normally from Delhi to Ahmedabad that same morning. What do you think would have gone wrong in that space of a turnaround from Ahmedabad to London?
I would like to check up the storage of the fuel. I would like to check up what sort of fuel went. Fuel, it may not be fuel, but let us write off, remove one doubt from our mind. And then some parts can break up. There are a lot of parts which are there. See, the fuel is going into both engines. Was there a distribution system which got choked, which got blocked? It could be there. When a pipe broke off, it could be there. There are so many things can happen. In the ignition system, something would have happened. So, an honest flight data recorder report and a court of inquiry report has to come. You know, Vineet, conjectures lead to a lot of, suspicion. So we should have to avoid that. Yes, we are all waiting for the FDR report to come and the inquiry report to come, and let not any airline official interfere in that.
Commander Bakshi, there is also this chatter going on that the pilot had about 3.5 kilometers, to in fact, take the aircraft before he took off. But if there was a problem with the engines, he would have known that in the first 2 kilometers. Do you subscribe to that argument? And there was a possibility that he could have stopped the aircraft from taking off.
I'll tell you, Vineet, when the pilot opens his throttle and his speed is building up normally, he watches the airspeed indicator. When the lift-off speed comes, the VR speed, they call it VR speed, when the nose wheel is up and the aircraft gets airborne, it got safely airborne. When the aircraft is safely airborne, it is building a thrust properly. There is no... Yes, if there was an indication on takeoff that some pressure, fuel pressure line or the temperature engine JPT is shooting up, or there is other warning signals which are there in the Boeing aircraft as well. I'm not a Boeing pilot, I'm a fighter pilot, but I know this, that this is there. Something will come up, pilot can abandon takeoff. He can abandon takeoff even after he has raised the nose, he can lower the nose. Maximum he will go overshoot the runway, but he will stop. But we have also, very sorry to say, Vineet, I have spoken on your channel that previously the airliners used to have a tail chute. Believe you me, Caravelle, if you know what the aircraft, I've gone into that Caravelle, they use tail chute. The emergency like this, the tail chute comes up. In the tabletop accident in Mangalore, I gave in my report.
So hold on to that thought, sir. Hold on to that thought, sir.